anything that I'm sharing, anything you want to do a dialogue off afterwards, please email me. I'm happy to assist in any way that I can. I have been working from home, like many of us have been, since March. So my job is usually traveling to schools, doing demonstrations, assisting teachers in the classroom. That all changed. So now I decided I'm going to work from home. What could I do to help? I got myself some software. I'm able to record what I do at home, little videos. So I'll share this multiple times because we still have about 10 people or so to join us. I created this YouTube channel. And if you go to YouTube and search Mr. Dana Morse, you should find this little pie tattoo. That's me. And this is what I've been doing to keep myself busy for the last 7+ months. So I went and broke down little things. Your student's attention span video length, 1 minute, 2 minute, 6 minute videos on the 84 and on the Nspire, breaking down the tips and tricks, much of what you're going to see today. And then when I exhausted all of the little tech tips, I then went and said, let's look at state exams. So I broke down algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 state exams, and those ones seem to be very well received. So I'm going to add more state exams to the list. And anytime I pause like that, that means I'm looking at adding more people to the discussion. But this YouTube channel, please look through the videos. If there's something that's not there that you need, email me. Let me know that, Dana, I'm covering solving systems of equations graphically. Could you do a quick 5-minute video on how to do that? I had a student who was stuck in press to test mode and wasn't taking an assessment. I made this video. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen just yet. How about I do that? Share screen. Screen 2. Okay. So now you should see my software on the left and my YouTube channel on the right. It is Mr. Dana Morse. And as I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I can see my participants. Pull that over here. And I want to make sure that the chat, if you want to message me, I can see that. All right. So YouTube channel, Mr. Dana Morse. I have short, to the point, technology tip videos. And I have state exams as well, breaking down part 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the Nspire, for the 84, for both, because everybody on this Zoom meeting has drank the Nspire Kool-Aid. They know that this technology really is fantastic. Okay, I'm at 16 participants. I'm going to go to the next thing. If people join, wonderful. Full disclosure, I'll be recording the screen that I'm sharing. Nobody's faces will be shown, and I will add this video to the YouTube channel afterwards. Okay? Software. So I like to see the videos that I do see, and I love seeing smiling faces. If you or a colleague does not have the TI-Nspire CX Premium Teacher Software, the software that I'm demonstrating with, I want you to email me, and I will send the teachers a free copy of this software, a perpetual license. A lot of you have this software on your school computers, but you don't have access to work from home. If you need it to work from home, email me. I want teachers to have the tools that they need in order to be successful. Now, that being said, what about the students? We can't forget them. They need access to the Nspire as well. TI does have a Chromebook solution for the TI-84. They are currently working on a solution for the Nspire. So that's good news. Bad news, it's not here yet, but it's in the works. Many people are doing some type of online platform to teach their students. Zoom is my default. Some people do Microsoft Teams. Some people do Google Classrooms. I lean towards Zoom because of this one feature, and that is this remote control. If you're presenting with Zoom and you select remote control, I have access to everybody who's in on this meeting. So Sue and I go back a long time. On Sue's screen right now, a message popped up. On mine, it says waiting for Sue to control your screen. So Sue, I'm actually going to have you participate. I'm going to have you accept that, and it will change from waiting for Sue to control your screen once she accepts me passing the ball. And no pressure, Sue, we're all watching you. And now Sue is controlling my screen. So watch. Those who have their videos, they can see that my hands are up here and she is running the show. So what's funny, Sue? I did this in the last session, and the last session somebody went to my documents or browse as well. So we don't have handhelds maybe in the kids' hands at home, but if you're doing some type of online meeting like this, now see, I've got to stop. I've got to stop her, and I can take the ball back away. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, you can give access to kids anywhere your software. So maybe you have your block periods or whatever you're doing, online meetings, but passing the ball to the students allows them to have a graphing calculator at their fingertips. So that, I'm not sure about the other platforms like Microsoft Teams and Google Meets, but this for Zoom is a game changer when it comes to Nspire technology. Now, Nspire. If you're in New York State and you're using Nspire, I really hope you know about jmap.org. Because TI and jmap.org partnered up, and you can see our little icon in the upper left-hand corner. You have all the state exams dating back to 1866 at your fingertips at jmap.org. A great fun activity when you're reviewing for state exams is go back to 1912. Open up an algebra exam and have the kids see that the math hasn't changed. jmap.org, all of these multicolors are hyperlinks. And if you click on Regents Exams or a question by standards, it will redirect you to the spreadsheets. And in here, you can see the TI-Nspire format. So you could have kids at home, if they have access to a handheld, they could put these TNS files onto their calculator and then do state exams. And as they're doing them, check their work. It's really, really powerful stuff. I wanted to start by talking about my software in particular. If you've seen me come to your school, Jason, Sue, you've seen me present. I've always been pushing TI-Nspire CX. And this past March, TI released a new model. It's the TI-Nspire CX2. They make both a numeric model and the CAS. And if you've seen me present, you've never seen me present CAS because I never do. That's the big no-no in New York State when it comes to Regents exams. It says flat out in the state exams guidelines, the calculator guidelines, that you may not use a computer algebra system CAS tool. The calculator guidelines for New York State haven't changed in years. A week before COVID truly broke out and everything was shut down, State Ed updated their calculator guidelines. And if you didn't know this, I wouldn't blame you one bit. You were so busy scrambling to be able to continue delivering education to the students. But in the frequently asked questions, question 1, can I use a graphing calculator that can simplify radicals such as square root of 18 or give exact trig values? And if you've heard me present before, the answer was always no. It was if you typed in square root of 8 and it yielded 2 radical 2, you couldn't use it. That rule has changed. You can have it simplify radicals and give exact trig values, but it can't do any other symbolic features. Going back to the Nspire CX2 CAS, if I go to Settings and I go to Document Settings, there's a feature that says CAS mode. The default is on. If I engage the drop down here, there's CAS off, but there's also exact arithmetic. This means, moving forward, having a TI-Nspire CX2 CAS is acceptable for New York State Math Regents exams, and better yet, when you put it into exact arithmetic mode, this model over any other model fits the New York State calculator guidelines. Now, I'm just showing how you could do it in the document settings. You know that kids could change it here. But if I were to go to the Enter Press to Test feature, it's right in here as well. So if you use Navigator, or you connect your docking stations, or maybe you do physically on the Nspire itself, press to test, exact arithmetic can be achieved when you use press to test on the TI-Nspire CX2 CAS. This is the second generation of the CX model. Those who can see me on the camera, I'm holding up the older TI-Nspire CX, the black one. This one does not have that feature, the ability to turn off CAS. That is only on the new one, and the new one has a blue perimeter, and it will say TI-Nspire CX2 CAS. Now that TI has a new model, does that make the TI-Nspire CX obsolete? No. The keyboards are exactly the same. The functionality, for the most part, is exactly the same. So you can mix these in your classroom. Say you're replacing 2 or 3 calculators a year. Don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. Now, I do want to be full transparent. So if you didn't know about these calculator guidelines, let me clue you in on some other changes. Another change, just to make sure you believe me, my my calculator has a computer algebra system. May I use it for the math exam? Not unless there's a way to restrict CAS features, which is exactly what the CX2 CAS does. So that answers that question. But if you teach geometry, and I feel so bad for the geometry teachers. You just got a great tool. There is a rule that was added for geometry. And number 9, my calculator will reflect a figure over the y-axis. Is this allowed on the math Regents exams, calculators cannot perform transformations. So, if you know the Nspire, like I think you do, you knew that it had a geometry package built in. In test mode, there is a little box that says Limit Geometry Functions. If you are using a TI-Nspire CX, TI-Nspire CX2, TI-Nspire CX2 CAS, any of those three models, this box must now be checked. Limit geometry functions. That wasn't the case prior. And this had been discussed, but never was put down in print. Number 11, can students use multiple calculators on a Math Regents exam? It was always discussed by State Ed. No, you couldn't, but they never put it in print. They put it in print, ladies and gents. I know of many schools where the kids got very familiar with the scientific models. Like in 8th grade, they would challenge the algebra regents in 8th grade, and they used scientific and graphing that year. And some kids would try to use both for the state exam. Now, whatever you start the exam with, that's your exam. One calculator. Okay? Again, these all came out the first week of March, and everybody shut down the second week of March. All right, let's get into some tips and tricks and things that can help you with the Nspire in your classroom. I find that if I have the Nspire software open and the state exam open, it makes what I'm doing more relevant. So this is the June 2019 Algebra 1 exam. And I'll go ahead and on my software, select a new document. No, I will not save changes. And I'll add a calculator. The test feature. The TI-81, 82, 83, 83 plus, 84 plus, 84 plus Silver Edition, I could go on and on, all have this test feature, which I feel is such a powerful tool to help build confidence in algebra. Question 1. The expression w to the 4th minus 36 is equivalent to. If I store a value into w, I can check my work. 12.3 has been my go-to value for years. It's an arbitrary value, non-integer. And I use the store command, which is above the var button. Control var. And if I want to be consistent with the problem, I can even choose W and press enter. So now, W raised to the 4th power, and right arrow to get out of that exponent, minus 36. Now, yes, this is a CAS model, and had I selected the factor feature, it would have done it. But remember, the CAS features are not allowed for the Regents. What you can do is set it equal to what you get when you factor it by hand. This looks a lot like a difference of two squares. And I would think my students would remember that I could make it w squared plus 6 and w squared minus 6. And what it's doing is it's putting 12.3 in for w and multiplying out the left-hand side and the right-hand side. And if they're equivalent, you get a true. To just be sure this isn't that one case, answer 3 is minus minus. I could go and change that symbol, and the students could go through this to help build math confidence. We have those kids that doubt their math abilities. This allows them to check their work. We have those kids that want to have that little approval, the pat on the back after they do every question. with the technology and the test feature, they can check their work. Now, why the 12.3? Allow me to go on this small tangent. Let's say the students decide -3 is their arbitrary value. And they're asked on the exam to factor x squared minus 9. If I select equals, open parentheses, x plus 3, notice that x minus 3, when substituted in, would give me 0, which means no matter what they put in for the other factor, we all know that that's not factored correctly, but it just gave a true output. When you substitute in, you get 0. 0 times anything is 0. 0 equals 0. They're going to get that false positive. Another great example to be able to wrap your heads around this, and if you teach algebra, you've had this student come up to you in class. X times x, does it equal 2x? They don't know if you add the coefficients or if you add the exponents. So I would set it equal to 2x, and the kids are now going to get true. 12.3 is not going to get us one of those false positives, false negatives. That's my go-to, and that's a little explanation as to why. I have a question regarding multiplication symbol. Jason, go ahead.
All right, Dana, how come sometimes, like when you just did it, and you did the 2 sets of parentheses, it automatically defaulted, added the multiplication symbol in the middle.
Implied multiplication.
Right. But like if you do it like on a graph, like say like a trig function, when you graph it, how come you have to insert it? Because there are times I've done it where I would write like, whatever it is, like if I'm multiplying something out, I actually, if I don't insert it in there, it comes back as an error.
Okay, so it all deals with the variables. The TI-Nspire allows for multi-letter variables and things like that. I can get away with 2 times the parentheses, x plus 3. And when I set that equal to, let's say, 2x plus 6, whoops.
You forgot.
Yep, I was busy talking, doing multiple things at the same time. All right, so 2x plus 6. Notice, I didn't put in that implied multiplication. It put it there. However, I do it with an x out in front, and now we're going to get into issues, I believe. Now, they do update operating systems. I don't check this every day. But, and see,
all right,
there you go.
So it's got to be a constant.
What's that?
So it has to be a constant, not a variable. It has
to be a constant, and that's what you're seeing when you are doing it in the graphing. It all depends on all the variables. You have more power with the Nspire, so you just have to be careful. It's not bad to teach the kids to put the multiplication in, but for the weaker students, it's also nice to talk about, hey, the multiplication shows up. That's what's really going on there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to answer. I'm going to clear my history. Question 2. The Nspire is the perfect tool. Let's see here. If we disconnect, I'll start this up again and everybody just join back in. Number 2, 4x plus 5, the such that symbol. Control equals, this is such a great tool for the Nspire. And I'll just say x equals -3, and that's substituting in that value in for x, and you get your -7. Question 3, you can type in these values in a list and spreadsheet and do a quick graph, and that will help the kids visualize. they can see in option 3 a vertical line test. They could just draw one. But what I want to focus on is option 2. 3x plus 2y equals 4. On the Nspire, you have relation graphing. So I can just add a graphs page, delete the equal sign, select option 6, relation, 3x plus 2y equals 4. You don't have to solve it for y, and they can do that visual eye test to see that it passes the vertical line test. Okay, so question 3, again, the Nspire helps on 3 out of the 4 answers. All 3 of these pass the test, so that kind of limits you to number 4 not passing the test. Question 4, transformations. You graph f of x, you graph g of x, and you compare the graphs. Which of these shifts took place? I don't feel like you need me to graph that. I'm going to skip to the ones that really can be powerful. Number 6, very similar to number 3, answer 1. So I'll show number 6, and this can be used for both of those. Start a new document. I'll add a list and spreadsheet. I'll call this one x. I'll call this one y, or f of x. And I'll put in my values, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 3, 9, 27. I don't need to do a great deal of analysis. I just need to visualize. I can go to Menu, choose number 3, Data, and go right to number 9, Quick Graph. I'll make my horizontal axis X, my vertical axis Y. And just by that alone, I know it's not linear, and it's growth and not decay, and that helps me with number 6. Number 7 really is just multiplying out those, and you can see in option 1, square root of 36, it's going to be just 6. That'll be straightforward. Option 8. So let me add question 8, graphs. We have a mix out there. Some of you have TI-Nspire CX. Some of you have TI-Nspire CX2s or CX2 CAS. Notice my grid lines are on. On the TI-Nspire CX2 series, when you go to your settings, there's an option to turn on your lined grid, and that will leave it on for the CX2s. For the traditional CX, you'll have to turn that on each time, but this is just a nice bonus for the CX2 model. That line grid stays on. So the kids could identify that -1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1/2, -1. Those look to be like the local max and local mins. They could now just type it in and try to find which one models that. I'm going to go with answer 3, x minus 1 as one part of it, and the x squared minus 4. And when I press enter, I can spy that -1, 6, and about 1.5, just about -1. Now it gives it more depth for the students to be able to see the representation. Scrolling through, 12, a 4-function calculator could really help you with 12. The Nspire is not really playing that much of a benefit. Question 14, you're graphing, which statement is true? being able to visualize, that's wonderful. The great thing about the Nspire now is that blue, red, black, it's going to color code it, so it's going to be easier for the students to see. 16. It's probably been a while since we've played around with statistics. Again, if we get cut off, just jump right back on. I'm going to do a list and spreadsheet. I'll go with year and population. And do pay close attention to what it said in the directions. Year 1 is supposed to actually be 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. And we've got 38, 10. 39, 43, 4081, 42, 24. You don't need to go and add other pages to this. We can do it all right here on the spreadsheet. Menu, number 4, statistics, number 1, stat calculations, and it tells you exponential in the problem. My X list, I'll engage the drop down, is year. My Y list is population. I'll put my results in the C column, that's what that's saying, and I'll press OK. And I can now scroll through and see my A value is 3809.86. That's option 1 right there. And I can see my B value, rounded properly, is 1.035, which is 4. So that was quick. Put in the values, do that regression, and you've got option 2, 1, and 4. I'm surprised when I see question 17. That's question 1 all over again, and they even kept it with W's. So you could set this equal to 1, 2, 3, and 4 and find your solution. With CAS, I'll show it even though it's not allowed. But if you go this route, you could at least show it during the school year. 4W minus 4W squared. 4W squared minus 11W minus 3. And it does it right there. Now, turn CAS on when it's appropriate. Turn it off when not. So that was question 17, just showing you some of the power of CAS. But this is question 1 right over again. You can simply just set it equal to the original to find your solution. 18. 18 is really cool with the Nspire technology. So question 18, I'll add a graphs page. For number 18 on the June 2019 Algebra 1 exam, which ordered pair is not on this graph? I've seen this question quite a few times now on the state exam. So question 18, 3x squared minus x plus 7. And when we hit enter, the kids are going to think something's wrong because they don't see it on their traditional graphing screen. With the Nspire, you have the ability of resizing your window. So I like to do the grabbing of the tick mark. That's one way to do it. Double click on an end axis value and maybe say -5, tab. I'll say this one, 25, tab, +5, tab, and
Dana, I don't think we can see your screen.
Oh, well.
Unless it's just me.
Well, I'm glad someone spoke up. Share screen. Now are you seeing it, Sue? You know, the recording of this is going to look great. So sorry about that. All right, so to catch anybody up that wasn't able to see that, all I did was plot number 18, and I like to double-click on the end axes values and hit Tab once I've adjusted those values to go around the screen. When I'm set with them, I press Enter. So this one's asking which of these does not lie on the graph. So if I go to Menu and I choose number 8, Geometry, and number 1, Points and Lines, the Point On tool screams my name because that's exactly what we're trying to figure out. Which of these points is not on this graph? So I can hover the graph at some point, click on it, and then click once more, and that point is dropped on the graph. I'll press Escape to turn off the tool. I hover the X value, double click, and now I'm going through my answers. Negative 1.5. When I press Enter, because I chose the Point On tool, it will snap right to 1.5 and show me the Y value is 15.25, which happens to be on this graph. Double click the X value, and I'll change it to 1.25. Press Enter, and I can see that I have 1.25, 10.4375, and that, my friends, doesn't match up. So 18, answer 3, does not lie on that graph. Now, that's one way of doing it. If I were to add a, and I press the var button, there's function 1. And I were to type in the answer 2, 0.5, press Enter, 7.25. So I could very easily use the calculator feature to do this problem as well. That's the Nspire in a nutshell for you. You can do any one task multiple ways. You, the teacher, know your students better than anyone else. You know which method would be best for them. Some teachers use the Actions Define feature, and you can define functions here. Let's say I wanted to define g of x, and I want to define g of x to be 2x plus 3. And it says done. But now when I go to var, I have f1 of x and g of x. And I can substitute in a value, press Enter, and have it evaluate right away. This is another way to do a composition of functions. So if we were to define two functions, which we have, you could do compositions. All right. Well, continuing on, the roots, that's another one that you could use the NSolve for. The population standard deviation, you can do that in a list. But I wanted to scroll on down to the free response questions and attack those. So question 1, it says solve algebraically. Well, the calculator is not algebra, but it can be a tool to help the students find the right path. On numeric and CAS models, the NSolve feature is there. You cannot turn off NSolve. So if I go to Menu and I select number 3, Algebra, where it is on your menu will depend on which model you have. But if you find Numerical Solve, you can now type in exactly what you see in the problem. So negative 2/3 times the quantity x plus 12, close parentheses, plus another fraction template, control divide is my fraction tool, 2/3 x equals, the standalone equals button, negative, fraction template, 5/4 x plus 2. Exactly as it's written on the test, there it is. I use the NSolve, I put a comma after the 2, and simply tell it what variable I'm solving for. And I get my solution, which is 8. Now that I have 8, I can now work it back and try to figure out how I could get some credit on number 25. Now I'm going to skip ahead because they ask a question very similar to this on question 28. 28, solve 5x squared equals 180 algebraically. Again, the calculator won't show the algebra, but the NSolve tool could help the kids get started. Menu, algebra, NSolve. 5x squared equals 180, comma x. Now, that's how we did the first one. We just typed in what they gave us, comma x. The numerical solve tool will find one solution. So if I press enter right now, it gives me 6. We've taught our kids to look what degree the problem is. Degree 2 usually means there are more than one solution. So I could left arrow to get inside the parentheses, put a comma, and I could say, I want to look for a solution from negative 10 to 0. When I press enter, I get negative 6. This is a good problem-solving strategy for your students, for them to wrap their heads around what they're really doing. We're looking for a solution where it crosses the x-axis if it was plotted. If I were to change this to go from 0 to 10, I get the positive 6. But don't stop there. Have your kids explore beyond. What about from 10 to 20? They need to see this. Many students see that and they would think that means there's an error. No, there's just no solution found from 0 to 20. It's good for them to see that so that they know that that does not exist. Menu, algebra, both the numeric and the CAS have a polynomial tools feature. Find roots of a polynomial. Degree 2. The roots are real. Our a value in front of x squared is 5. Our b value in front of x, we don't have one. 0. Our c value, or a sub 0, well, it has to equal 0, so I'd have to move that 180 over. So negative 180. And I tab on down and say, okay. That mirrors it if I move that 180 over. And here I see the negative 6, positive 6. Now, why don't I lead with polynomial roots? Because not every student would know to move that 180 over. They might hit a roadblock when it says it has to equal 0. So that's why the numerical solve and the poly roots could be helpful.
You're welcome.
I saw 27, and I was licking my chops for this session to present. Piecewise. If I choose number 2, add graphs, and I start with the templates key, the button, directly to the right of the 9, there is a piecewise template built in on the Nspire. Absolute value of x. Go back to your templates. Absolute value. Select it. X. -5 less than or equal to x less than 2. You just type it right on in. -5 control equals. Here's all your inequalities and such that symbols. I want less than or equal to x, and then I want strictly less than 2. Control equals less than 2. And -2x plus 10. And we need it to go from 2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 6. And when we press enter, can move that label, you have your piecewise plotted. You can see the points to plot, but if your students needed to see the table, Control T will bring up the table in a split screen. Or again, add the calculator application, var, select F1, and you can start to substitute in values. And create the points to plot right there. So when I saw 27, I thought that was hitting it right out of the park with the Nspire technology. Another fantastic problem with the Nspire is question 33. Actually, 37? Yeah. 37. Solving systems of linear equations with the TI-Nspire technology. We have two families going to the fast food restaurant, the Browns and the Greens. Cheeseburgers and fries are being purchased by both families, and based on what they order and what they pay, can you come up with what each burger and each French fry order costs? Numeric or cast, both models have it. Menu, algebra, solve systems of equations, and we're going to solve systems of linear equations. Here's where the kids can really get into it. The variables aren't x and y. We're buying cheeseburgers and fries. And the problem says use C for the cost of cheeseburgers, and so we'll do C and F. So we'll use C and F as our variables, and you can already see the solution set will be in terms of C and F. How cool is this? 4C, 4 cheeseburgers, plus 3F for French fries costs a total of $16.53. The other family, the Greens, buy 5 cheeseburgers, so 5C, plus 4 orders of fries, and their combined cost is $21.11. You can see the cost of a cheeseburger, the cost of French fries. And then you use this information to go about answering the rest of question 37. I apologize for the technical difficulties there. I apologize if you missed anything. I had it recording the entire time, so you can always go back and re-watch it. Regressions, quad linear pair and finding the solution. All of these you can find on my YouTube channel. I'm always adding more, so please let me know if you need something added that's not there. Question 34, with time remaining, 2x squared minus 8x plus 3. And if I open up the entry line by hitting tab, negative 2x plus 3. I can reposition my labels, and I can go about solving this question. Plotting the points, you can get the table values or the value feature from a calculator. Determine and state all values for x where f of x equals g of x. Menu, you could do the analyze graph and do the intersect feature. This is how many of us did it back on the 84. And you click and you trap the intersections, but you have to go back and repeat that process. Analyze graph, intersection, click once on either side. You could do it that way. I prefer a different method. Personally, I like to go to Menu, Geometry, Points and Lines, and I want to use the intersection points. I can click on the linear function. I can click on the quadratic function, and that way I don't have to go and repeat the process twice. There's multiple ways to do any one task on the Nspire technology. So I will again redirect us to my YouTube channel, where I've gone through state exams. I did back in August a remote teaching with Nspire webinar. That one with this one, I believe, will cover all our topics. If you're into coding, you want to do anything STEM related, I do have technology that I can loan out. I don't have classroom sets of Nspires, but I do have some Innovator Hubs and some Rovers that if you were able to do some face-to-face, that might be helpful. I'm willing to help out in any way that I can. If you wanted me to join one of your platforms, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or a Zoom meeting, and do some tech tips with your students, I'd be more than willing to do that as well. My email's in the chat. Sarah, thank you so much for putting it in there. dmorse@ti.com. Software. Again, if you missed this at any time, if you do not have the software that I've been demonstrating with, please email me, and I will send you this software so that you and your colleagues can do their jobs effectively.